it's fine.
Yeah.
Is it up by Kinzer?
Yeah.
Up that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, you're
That's the
kidding.
second one since.
In fact, we were today, and there's the railroad bridge that
Yeah.
got taken down,
I like
and now they got a
candy,
log.
like chili candy.
Well,
So they
my
sell
understanding is they're tearing that bridge down, they're repairing the
So they're
bridge
like
because it got damaged
candy shell, but
by
like
tornado
chili
a
inside for you.
couple years ago, since
Yeah,
to be
so
close
I
to
thought
2 years.
it would be fine.
This is the last year, last
Like halfway through the
month
bag,
to get
I'll
up
like
there.
eat them all
If
day
you want to
long.
walk out over
So
the
we're
bridge,
gonna
Halfway through the bag,
reconstruct.
all of a sudden I feel something.
they're gonna
It
rebuild
feels
it.
a little
What
big
is
for a
it?
Tic Tac thing. So I almost spit it into that, and here it's half the way around.
We had gone up in the middle of the week on a Wednesday.
Not yet,
There was nobody
but
there.
I
But
went
it was
in
very
and
nice. I mean,
I
it's
was just like touching it.
spectacular.
So back then I was still working, so we had to go on the weekend, but now I'm retired. Thank you, Eddie. So that was a nice part.
All right, we're ready. Who's gonna be first?
An introduction for people on TV here.
Oh, okay. Introduction for people on TV. I'm Harry Schlegel, I'm the mayor. Dave Soboslay is our borough manager. And this is Coffee with the Mayor, and I have my coffee. As I said earlier, this is strictly an open format. If you have a question or a concern, just bring it up. And maybe that'll prompt somebody else. We'd like to keep it not short, but under 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. And if it prompts additional questions, it brings up additional questions. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I have two. Oh,
Yeah, you're gonna talk on it. We're on, they're taping this, so. That's
okay.
fine.
Well, I have two things to talk about. The first one is the garbage company that picks up the trash. I have lived in this borough since '89. I've never seen the borough look as filthy dirty as it does, and I've noticed a change for the worse after whatever garbage company we have now. Every time they pick up, you gotta go clean around your yard, around your area. I'm not sure what the deal is, but it's, I don't know, like, do we have a contract with them for so long, and how much longer, and do we just go with the cheapest one, or the one that actually gives halfway decent service?
All right, well, I'm gonna let him answer part, but
Okay.
I'll answer the first one. We have to take lowest bid,
Okay,
and they were the lowest bidder.
okay,
I know what you're saying, because
Yes.
I end up going up my street and along Ellicott Road, picking up trash that's flowing out of the back of the truck as
Exactly,
they drive down,
yeah.
okay? I've had complaints from citizens, that, they have frequently, they have hydraulic lines burst, and now they've got hydraulic fluid over their driveway
okay,
or over the street in front of their house. Yeah, we have the issues with them.
okay,
I'm gonna let you answer.
Sure, so, we are in year 4 of 5 of a contract with, County Hauling. We do have 5 option years after that. And for those option years, it's a mutual agreement that they would wanna move forward with it, and we would wanna move forward with it. When you look at where we are and what we pay right now, based, versus other communities around us, our numbers are low for what we offer. We have fully automated, garbage pickup and recycling pickup, large items. We put a large item every week. So I would be fearful if we had to go out to bid again after year 5, how much of a jump we would see an increase on the rates. So when we get to year 5, council will have to make a decision on whether they want to move ahead and go out to bid. And for all we know, County Hauling may say, look, the numbers are too low for us. We want you to go out to bid, and our relationship ends there. So, we do receive a number of calls every day about certain things. We have 28,000 people living in Plum Borough. There's a lot of garbage every day. Prior to County Hauling coming on board, we were with Republic for 10 years. And after 10 years, you get things down to a science. But we weren't without complaints with Republic also. And pretty much what you described is the same complaint that we received. It's the dump goes up on top,
yeah,
it goes through the roof, and I remember taking a picture of our public truck, with a lot of garbage sitting on the roof of the truck as it moved. So I think we receive similar complaints. Yeah, it is a problem. We'll say it is. We get a lot of complaints
Okay,
about exactly what you said. And they've been very responsive to our calls. We get a complaint from you. Our Public Works Department is, sending a message out to their route person right away. So I see the emails. I'm part of that email chain. I get tired of seeing it sometimes, but I see the response, and they're very responsive to the request.
when you say they're responsive, did they just say, okay, we'll deal with it? Or
No,
do
so-
they actually
no,
do
right.
something?
So-
Because talk's cheap.
Yeah. So our Public Works Department asks for an email back when the item has been addressed. So we keep a record of these complaints, and we want to close them out. We just don't want to know that we received something. We want to know that there's been some action taken. So, they do respond when they've taken care of the requests. But you're right, I do see the garbage when I'm driving around,
Okay.
and it's frustrating that it happens.
It's gonna look worse now that, it's getting on to fall and winter, and everything that was hidden by the tall grass on the side of the road is gonna be sticking out all over the place again. It's gonna look worse.
Part of the issue, they've improved, by the way, from the very beginning when they started, they have improved, believe it or not, they have improved. They are responsive. I live off of Ellico Road behind the school. And I came down and there's a mattress in the box spring thrown over the hill, just sitting up against the guardrail. That's not the countywide problem.
Holly.
It was somebody that drove down the street and decided to get rid of their mattress and box springs. If you put the mattress and box springs out, as Dave pointed out, they take it.
Yeah.
One large item a week. Put a sofa out, they'll take it. I've had it, I got out in the yard cutting grass and my trash is sitting there and they went by me. The last person you want to miss is the mayor. Because I got on the phone and called and said, hey, they missed me. I was dead out in the yard. Well, they had a hydraulic leak. So they were going, and they did come back later that evening and finish picking up the trash. But there is issues, it has improved. I know, I pick up the garbage when I see it, I pick it up, take it home and throw it in the garbage can. I know what you're saying.
Right.
I will say that the hydraulic leak issue, until you said that, I hadn't thought about that. So it's been a year and a half, maybe 2 years since we've had an issue with that. They had one major leak, which they were over in Edgemead, and their driver, called the police. The fire departments came out that contained the hydraulic fluid, and they had McCutcheon Enterprises come out and remove that hydraulic fluid, as it should be. So that certainly has improved. But I'll take this opportunity to advertise our spring cleanup that we do every year on the side of the roadways. That if this stuff bothers you on the side of the road, we'd love to see you out in the spring to help with our spring cleanup.
Okay, so my other, I don't wanna plug everything, the other
Put it
thing,
up closer to your
okay, I'm sorry, the other thing I wanted to discuss is I live in Boys Park Village. I live on a corner lot, and between the, Boys Park Drive and down around the corner a little bit, there's 9 kids that live in that area, the oldest is 10. And and everybody who's a parent now, I don't have any little kids anymore, but I'm concerned with the little kids around. People blowing the stop signs and speeding through the neighborhood. It has become such a problem that it's gonna escalate, only for the fact the one woman who lives there yelled at some guy for speeding through the road, and him and her got into a verbal confrontation. Now, I don't really believe that if her fiance would have been there, that this guy would have been so mothy, because he's a prison guard. But a woman with 2 little kids, she's an easy mark. My other neighbor, he says, I'm gonna find, and he mentioned the car and everybody knows it, he says, I'm gonna find who belongs to that. So I'm worried that the situation is going to escalate. My one neighbor, our yards are connected and there's some trees there. He actually cut a hole between the trees for the kids to run through because he's so worried about the kids walking along the road. If the police wanna come and sit in my yard, they are more than welcome. If they, I will make them cookies, and give them coffee, anything they want. I just think that if somebody sees them a couple of times, maybe that might slow them down. My one neighbor wants to go on Amazon and buy, what do you call those things that, the speed bumps. So I'm gonna put them at the corner here and here, you know? And I'm thinking, oh, I don't think that's legal to do that,
No,
but I'm not sure.
Well, people have asked, why don't you have speed bumps?
Yeah,
And I says, fine, I'll bring it up to council, we'll put speed bumps up.
yeah,
But you need to sign some papers, because your street's not gonna get plowed.
okay, yeah, well, yeah,
Because they can't come down, lift the plow, put it down, lift the plow, it's just, that's why we don't have speed bumps.
okay, all right,
Before we leave here, give me your address.
yeah.
I will talk with the chief, and we've done this, and we appreciate when people say, you can use my driveway.
Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And so we have just the very presence of a vehicle sitting there, marked vehicle. I live up on Winchester Drive, and there's, down the other end of the street, kids are lost land. They're everywhere. That's one of the reasons we moved here, we like to see the kids. Well, they're speeders, they come down, I put up a sign, we put up the radar sign, and they blow right by.
All right.
And I've had a couple of people stop me and say, you need to do something about that. And I said, it's a cul-de-sac down the end. They're your neighbors. Well, why don't you say something to them? Tell them to quit speeding. Well, I don't want to have an issue. But you want me to have the issue.
No, our problem is, if you go up Darwin Hill, there's a road that connects to the acres. Now, I don't know anybody in the acres. Okay, so those aren't people that I can go to and say, hey, you know, you can't go 45 miles an hour down this hill. There's a bunch of little kids around.
But if you don't know them, you'll get the same reaction
No.
with that other person. You don't need to do that. I'll ask the chief to put somebody up, and before we leave, give you your name and address.
Oh, yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
I'll see if I can.
Well, I appreciate that, thank you.
I announce at the council meetings, I don't know if anybody's watched it, but I call them my idiots. We put those radar signs out to tell you how fast they're going. We had some idiot do 78 mile an hour down Miller's Lane.
Okay,
Obviously, he didn't stop at a stop sign. That's an idiot.
yeah,
I don't care how much of a hurry you're in, that's ridiculous.
yeah,
So every month we do that. The problem with those radar signs, they take a picture of the front. We do not have front license plates in Pennsylvania. And it's very expensive to put a license plate reader so that as it goes by, they take a snapshot of the license plate. Now, maybe that'll help, but that's expensive to put that technology on those signs. I get calls, there's kids out here, teenagers. They're seeing how fast they can go past the sign.
oh, okay,
All right? Now, you and I wouldn't do that. But if we were 16, 17, I probably would do it. But on the other hand, it doesn't make it right.
right,
So, yeah, the speeding is an issue all through the borough. And it's usually people's neighbors that are doing it. Or running stop signs because they're in a hurry to get to work during school hours while they're waiting for a bus. That's also extremely dangerous.
oh.
Anyone else?
Who else wants to talk?
Please,
First off, I'll make a comment about the
go right ahead. Take
10 times better than the last organization. I mean, that's a market improvement, you know, first off, even because the old group, was it Republic, I think it was, their recycling trucks had holes in one of them. So if you were going down, there's glass down the middle, down the corners of the road, or on the curves of the road. So these guys, they've been considerably better and certainly much appreciated. Yeah, I know there's always room for improvement. I think probably the thing is when they dump it, sometimes they're moving, when they're flipping it, and that's where you get a lot of the flack out of it. But once again, I'm going to say, you know, kudos for these new guys. So far, so good.
Very good. Anything else? You have any?
Well,
Yeah, we have,
Please take the
we
stick
do
in the
have
microphone,
one.
please.
My husband Tom Houston, I'm Marcia Houston. We live up on Frontenac.
Ramparts.
Yeah, up in Ramparts. And a year ago, not even, 9 months ago, we got one of the new stoplight, or street lights put in. And I did bring pictures. This is from my back porch. We can't sit on our back porch, it's so bright. This is in our front window, that's our front porch. We can't, like, I can't sit in my recliner in the evenings unless I wanna put blackout curtains on my living room window. We noticed down on Dinwiddie, they put new lights down there now, but they have the shade that comes down and it's filtering the light down. Can we get one of those?
And the
We'd be
LEDs
forever
are way
grateful.
better than
First of all,
Sony
that's,
paper.
correct me if I'm wrong, that's Duquesne Lights issue.
That is Duquesne lights?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you call and tell them if you've got light pollution coming in,
Okay,
they put the shields up on the back.
Oh, okay.
Try that first.
sure.
So-
And if it doesn't work, then maybe we can make a phone call, or I'll make a phone call and ask them to do something. But try calling them and saying, I've got light pollution, I can't sit there. Can you put a shield on the back? And as far as I know, they've been very cooperative in that.
Okay,
Oh, that's
all right,
excellent.
good, because it's nice that it does light the street up and make it
Oh, yeah.
safer, but it's.
But it also lowers the electric bill for us because they're LED.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're much better than soda paper. But
So-
yeah, my house looks like a grow house because I have to.
Let me just add to that, so,
Keep the light on, it's like, waiting for the police to go by and say, what do you got going on in that room over there?
so you're right.
My granddaughter trying to sleep.
In the last year or so, Duquesne Light, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we were working with Duquesne Light to replace, 10 or 15 LED lights in the whole borough a year. But now they've replaced everything. What I've learned in this transition is that not all lights, especially in housing plans, will take those shades. So is your light the same style as the one that you saw the shade on?
No, the new one's down in the lower, so they did front deck, which is kind of that short drop down to Dinwiddie, and then he came back probably a few months later. It's a completely different style, like,
Right, so we can't assume that
right,
that it'll go on there, because there are a number, and just think there are a number of different developers out there that have their own style of lights they put in. And for Frontenac, how old are the houses there, 40 years, 50 years?
86 months.
Okay, so, tell you what, before you leave, if you wanna give me your information, we have a contact at Duquesne Light that deals, with streetlights, and I'd be more than happy. In fact, I was talking with them today about an issue. We certainly can't promise anything, but I can probably cut through the red tape a little quicker than you dial in the general number.
So the LEDs are extremely bright, much better than Sony paper, right? It was just, they got the hot, you know what I mean, the hot LED.
Yes.
Right, so the high end, so it is bright.
I don't know, sometimes I can adjust those LEDs too, I don't know.
Yeah,
I know you can adjust it on some of the lights I have in the house.
Yeah.
Duquesne Light is the best one,
Okay, that's
so
great.
let's get the information
Thank
from you,
Right.
and as well as yourself. Anybody else, you're sitting over there quiet? Anybody else? You guys came.
Well,
She
okay,
does.
Let me get the microphone.
Doing very well.
So that's okay.
okay,
Um,
oh,
Go
okay.
get that now.
Okay, my question is, since you're the mayor, you might be able to answer this one. Well, no, when we had come to the other council meetings, and especially after the large increase in property tax, I was wondering if the borough, or how we would get something to be put on, that there would be a bond issue when you do these large purchases such as all this land and buildings, that the people of Plum could actually vote for. How do you get something on it that would be?
You were asking for a referendum?
Yes, a referendum, so that way, I mean, in all, I respect all of you guys that were doing that, but I don't feel same way with the school. And the 12 people or 13, however many are on there, should have the ability to just make those decisions when it comes to each individual person's tax dollars being increased dramatically. It goes for the schools, it goes, where I grew up, yes, you had a bond issue and people voted on it, they knew the issue. If they felt that it was warranted, that they needed it, then it was voted through. If not, well, then it didn't go through.
Well, the thing is, inflation bites everybody.
Oh,
And it hits us too. One of the things is, everybody remembers you raised the taxes. Not one person has come before council to say, you guys did a great job. The last time you raised taxes was 2018, and now it's 2024. 6
Right.
years, we held the line. And with the increase we just did, I think we're good until 2028 before we have to consider
It's a 5-year plan.
5-year plan. So it's tough to do that, particularly when the school district's been raising them every year.
Yeah, that is another issue,
You have to
but,
hit both. But I sat in there and people came forward and voiced their opinion. I'm fixed income, I'm hit too by it.
right,
But on the other hand, I know we have not raised the taxes since 2018. That's pretty damn good.
oh, it is good, but what I'm saying
It hit you.
is, when you do these large increases.
This wasn't the reason the taxes went up. This wasn't the reason. It's cost of living, taxes went up. Salaries went up.
Well, and I would imagine that, I mean, just like everything does go up. And I appreciate that you guys did do the holding of it, but in the future, if it's going to do something, if you have your budget for 5 years, and you say it's not going to raise taxes, should there be some things that are looked at that you need to say, okay, we really need to do this, and we really need to raise, shouldn't we as borough, people that are paying for this, have a little bit more, I just felt like I was taxed without any representation. I was at those meetings, and it, quite honestly, everybody looked like, well, we've already decided this, and this is the way it goes, I don't care what you say, it's going.
Well, part of it is because we had to buy it. You can't lay off police. I mean, we have certain obligations in order to maintain this borough, not this building, the community. And our costs have gone up all the way around, utilities and everything else. This building is more energy efficient than the old building. And quite frankly, if you had been in the back of the old building down there, I was shocked. I was a tax collector, and I heard everybody's complaints. They didn't complain to council, they didn't complain to the school district, but when they were writing that check, they complained to me. And the worst thing is, I had to write a check to myself, and I couldn't complain to anybody. The thing was, I went over to the borough building, and they had made up their mind that they were gonna build a new building. And I said, we could put, when that old building was built, we could put a second floor on. And then I sat over there in my office and I listened, because God gave me 2 poor ears, but He gave me 2 ears, 1 mouth. He wants me to listen twice as much as I speak. After a couple months over there, that building was shut. The infrastructure was gone, the air conditioning, the power, it had come to end of life. We needed more people and didn't have the room to put them. We had people sharing an office, desk to desk. Our police had 1 break room. They shared with the employees. We needed more officers. The sergeants were face to face. I mean, it was cramped. We had grown. And it was time to build a new building. And I was out there saying, we don't need to build a new building, we'll just go up. Well, that was wrong on my part. We needed a new building, a new facility. This is it. It's much more energy efficient, it gives us a lot of room. And this room here, the banquet room, as well as the gymnasium downstairs and that. Mona, how many concerts have been rented?
We're
Just
busy.
about every weekend?
Every weekend, yeah, we're busy.
This is rented. Have we had a wedding yet in here?
Mhm.
We had
Two of
2 weddings in here, receptions. So we've had birthday parties, and we've had graduation parties, people are using this. That down there was a administrative building. The only time you came there is when you needed a permit, or you needed to pay a bill, or you had a complaint. This is a municipal complex, a community complex for use for people. The gym is used, people rent that down there. It's The same with, we have movies in the amphitheater down there. So we're doing a lot for the community. But I have to write that check for the taxes, same as you.
But in the future,
Can we put in?
how, is there a
I don't know,
way
if
to
we do
have
that
that? Put in that if it's over a certain percent, that you're going to have to raise taxes. I understand raising taxes to keep up with your pay, your increase of electric, gas, whatever. We all have those.
Oh, we have that.
But when there's something that's going to hit the tax people, the taxpayers up plumb, I would think you would have enough of an advance notice to say, whoa, wait a minute, this is, we're gonna have to really, have people decide, do you want this or don't you? If it passes, fine, then everybody has to take it, it's the majority. But if not, then we have to live within our means.
But that means sacrificing public safety. We have a volunteer fire organization, and I'll get into that. I've asked the chiefs of the fire companies to give me what it would cost to have a paid fire company here. You don't even want to hear it.
I can imagine.
That with the volunteers, and what gets me, I asked the chief of Holiday Park at the last council meeting, when you do a drive, a fundraising drive, what's your response? Want to guess? 29%. 29% send money in. Your hazard insurance, our hazard insurance, is based on the quality of the fire companies we have. You put a paid company in here, your hazard insurance is going to go up, as well as your taxes to pay for that. So I'm going to ask at the next meeting that if you can give 50, minimum 50, or 100. I had neighbors that were doing very well off here at Plum, and they gave nothing. Until one Christmas Eve, they came home from church, and their house was on fire. Christmas Eve, and the fire company was there fighting it. The tragedy at Rustic Ridge. Those men and women should have been out cutting the grass and going to softball games or baseball games with their kids. They were there. And they don't get paid. So back to your concern, I don't know if we can do a referendum or not, Dave.
How would it be done? How do
I don't know.
you approach that?
I think if you look at, so we're governed by the Pennsylvania Borough Code. So the Borough Code, if you look at it, it's gay thick and it talks about everything. It does not require that a bond issue go through a referendum. There are other communities that are home rule communities that have that in their code, and they went through the home rule charter and the home rule process. We are not a home rule community. All I can say is the Borough Code does not require referendums for bond issues.
But we didn't float a bond issue. We raised taxes because our cost went up.
We did have a bond issue, not in 2023 or 24, way back in, I think the last one was 19 or 20. We had one, but 2017, 2018, the last tax increase, costs go up, but just back to your basic question, the code that we're governed by doesn't require that.
The borough code.
Okay, but how can we as a Plum resident institute something like this so we're not caught off guard again like that?
Well, when we had public hearings on raising, nobody came.
I was there at the
You
Genesis.
were one. You were one.
And I was there and there was quite a few people, and then
I-
the second night there was when, and some of the people made some good suggestions. But again, at the first night that I was there, I could see all your faces and it was like, basically, you know what, too bad, it's this.
Well, fair
And that's, I could tell y'all have made up your mind,
Well, we definitely made up our mind was made up for us by giving us information.
you know, but again, when you had to know sometime before that this was going to hit that large. It doesn't just, oh gosh, one day all of a sudden it's like, oh, I gotta pay all this, like how am I gonna do it?
And part of the discussion we had was, do we bite the bullet and do one larger one, so we don't have to do it for 5 years, or until 28? Or we do a little one every year. Me personally, I'll take the hit once and move forward. So bear in mind, 28, you're gonna have to come to the
I have
meeting
to
again.
move. I just think,
But I'm for the raise their taxes too. I mean, it's hitting us.
and I get everybody's taxes are
Yeah.
gonna raise at some time,
Yeah,
but again, that's something that I think when you get hit with that high of a tax rate, it is a lot to swallow at one time. And then the school goes up and it's like, well, wait a minute here. And I've been at the school board meetings, and I just think, are we thinking about things and looking at things hard enough to come up with alternative ideas? And if there had to be some kind of thing that you had to come to the people to say, look, this is what we're up against. Are you for it or are you against it? If you're against it, this is what will happen. This is what we have to give up. If you're for it, this is what you're going to get. I just didn't feel that we were that
Well,
we had any,
as Dave pointed out, under the Borough Code, we don't have a mechanism for doing it.
again, is there a way to get a referendum that it can be?
Well, that has to come from the state. The Borough Code has to be changed by the
So I
state.
have to go to the state.
The state is the one that sets the Borough Code. It affects all boroughs in Pennsylvania.
Okay, well.
It
call the
sets
state.
my duties, and it sets councils, and it goes down the line. It's that we have to follow. Again, if the state wants to change the code, we can get the code changed, but that's not here. Bear in mind that when we raise taxes, we all have to pay it ourselves.
I
And
get
I can
it.
tell you this, how much do you think I make as mayor?
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
I get $50 a month.
Okay,
Council gets 35. So it's basically a volunteer position.
And those salaries are set in the borough code.
And they're set in the borough code. And the only way we can raise them is, you cannot give yourself, we couldn't raise it while we're in office. So we have to get people that are exiting to make a motion. We don't do this for money. And the school board, they raise taxes, they get nothing. That's all volunteer up there.
right.
I don't care for some of the people on school board, but I respect them, because I tell people with the election, we're standing here in the rain and the cold, looking for a job that doesn't pay just to have people chew our ass.
Well, I'm not chewing out anybody, I would just like to know.
No, if you would like to have more input into it.
Yes,
And there's,
they have,
right now under Borough Code, there is not a mechanism.
so then I have to contact the state.
I would contact the state and see what they can do. I don't know how difficult it is, I don't know, but I don't think it's been changed in decades.
Oh, I just wondered if there, like I said,
Yeah.
I read the paper, and I just felt blindsided, and I felt like we did not. We were there, we were present, we heard it, but I felt like it had already been decided, there was no real discussion.
Well,
There wasn't.
we had discussions as council and with the administration, sat down and went through that thing, with the director of finance, went through it, combed it, where could we cut, what could we do? We've got union contracts with public works and the police that we have to, we have obligations we have to meet. And, we don't sell anything, we don't manufacture or sell anything.
Right,
One of the problems we have in Plum Borough is we don't have a lot of commercial space. don't need businesses.
Right.
We have the mom and pops or the shopping center, but we don't have any big businesses that can offset the taxes. Everybody wants a business because they don't require a lot of funding, a lot of borough resources. We don't have it. And part of it is we don't have the infrastructure. We're not on a turnpike interchange. We don't have, how much aggravation would you have if another 10,000 vehicles a day were going down New Texas Road? Or pick a road. We don't have it. And we're never gonna have it. We just don't have the infrastructure to support that. So our taxes, the only way we get funding falls on homeowners. Unfortunately. I wish we had somewhere that we could
Right.
have some businesses that would increase the taxes, but we don't.
I just think that.
I know what you're saying.
I'll contact the state then.
Yeah, well, that's like, just ask about what's it take to change the borough code?
Okay.
Okay, I'll throw them under the bus. Call Brandon Markosik.
Okay.
And our senator is leaving, he's retiring, so that's why there's a race going on, but guess what? Because whoever wins the election, call them and ask, what's it take to change the code?
I'll do that.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
change the subject.
Sure.
Anything else?
No, that was my, that's the only thing.
Anybody else have anything? Come on, there's gotta be something.
I know.
You guys have any more? You came in, you wanna talk? You stopped me on my street.
I did. I wanna know where the coffee and donuts are first.
They're over there. No, that's
Cookies, that'll work, yeah.
you want that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's for a start. Yeah.
I was out working. Bob, how are you?
Good, good. I just wanted to ask about the Monday market, was the only reason I came.
Good point, that's what the purpose is.
It works, I guess. I know that we're thinking about raising the old borough buildings and leaving the authority building. And one time it flooded and we moved over there for 3 or 4 weeks. The market went really well. So I was just wondering about that as a consideration to move the Monday market over in that open area next year if it is open. And that would get you away from the baseball. I know there's a lot of concern for baseball traffic.
I'm throwing you under the bus.
Well, it's a
It
timely
has to
question.
be kind of a public place.
It's a timely question, so, what is today? Wednesday. So Monday night, we met with our Recreation Committee of Council. We meet with them every so often for some guidance, and one of the issues we talked about was Monday market. And we talked about, probably the ground there, the rocks, the dirt is not favorable to, some of the older people trying to get around. At the same time, you have the baseball people, with their carts coming through there. There's dirt flying in the air. So it's sort of an odd relationship there. But the question we asked the committee was, are you open to us looking at other places? And the answer was yes. I think we need to find a place that there's enough traffic so the vendors, get the business. Honestly, if you were to go up to Larry Mills Park where we have a whole lot of room, that's a destination. Unless you know Monday market's there, you're not going to get any business. So we've got to find a place that has that visibility, that has the parking, that has the ground is in good condition for people to get around. So I think the old Borough Building site is an unknown right now. We are under contract to have that demolished. Council awarded that contract in September. We have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor on October 2nd, which I think is next week. So it's imminent. The question is, unfortunately, as part of that contract, we're going to be putting down more gravel where that building is. We've applied for a number of grants to start grading that site, looking at improvements to the stream bank. We're doing a study, a highest and best use study right now to show what the market would, today's market, what would it tell us would be best to be in there? Is it housing? Is it commercial businesses? We don't know that answer. That's why we're going through this study. So there are a lot of unknowns. I wish I could give you an answer, but certainly we would consider that site. There were a number of sites that have been brought to our attention, so we want that to succeed. And how do we measure success? I think we measure success by how the vendors do. Our residents benefit by the vendors being there and offering these these items to the public. So we want to see you succeed, but it's really tough to find the ideal place. There are a number of factors, but like I said, the Recreation Committee of Council was open to us exploring that, and that meeting was 2 days ago, so we're just starting that process.
Has that been beneficial to you, Bob?
Oh, yeah, it worked out.
And the other farmers that come down and bring the produce down?
And I mean, you support it well, it's just that it happens to be in like a double usage kind of area.
Well, you also got New Texas here, which gets a lot of traffic, and I'm wondering how much people ride by and say, oh, it's Monday market, and drop in and buy.
I was just going by the fact that when we moved over there, I mean, we were even behind the existing buildings, and it was still twice the traffic that we're getting now.
Yeah, I don't
know why that is, but
I think for the person who's not familiar with the area, they can see it from a distance, but they don't know how to get there. I mean, you're driving on New Texas, and like you're looking for maybe a driveway off of New Texas, and well, you've got to go down to Ross Hollow, make that right, go around field number 5.
and you gotta find it alley.
Yeah, so I think, we have done our best to put signage up where the turn is on Ross Hollow. And if you've noticed, and we've had it for a number of years, even when we were down in the old building, at the corner of New Texas and Ross Hollow, we have a sign there that we put up, every, it says Monday Market.
Right.
And we put that out on our Facebook page and Savvy Citizens. So, we try and promote it the best we can. We want to see the vendors succeed. But maybe to our list, we should add a place that is easy to get to and visible. We're starting that process.
I expect it has to be more of a public ground too, right, because of live buildings and so forth.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be our hope, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
How would you be?
By the way,
You don't have to stand, you can sit, it's very informal.
Fine. My name is Richard Vickroy. I'm a Plum resident here for 20 years, and I'd say about 10 years or so ago, a gentleman by the name of Paul DiSabato, God rest his soul, was running for council here locally. I don't believe he succeeded, but he asked me what I thought would be good to help the business community. And it was right after one of the golf tournaments at the Oakmont Country Club, US Open. And I said, I watched those buses go down there, and they turned around there back behind Sheets, and all these people came on and off. And could you do something, maybe make like a slip ramp or something like that, to at least on one side allow access to Plum, or maybe access away from Plum, even if it's only on one side of the turnpike. That's where I left it with him. I actually went as far as to talk to Tony DeLuca at some point, and he introduced me to someone from the Turnpike Commission, and he called me back. He says, "You can have that here. You can have it in one. It's only going to cost you X amount of dollars, $5 to $10 million, whatever it would cost, and do development, the site surveys and whatnot, traffic studies. But yes, we're not opposed to putting in an exchange anywhere at this point. And I've seen slip ramps put in on the eastern part of the state. I've seen a school district get their own exit off of I-79, Seneca Valley, up where I work up near City of Noble. So I don't know if that could be something could be revisited again, with a champion from each of the neighboring communities, New Kensington, Oakmont, Verona, Penn Hills, Plum. I mean, for me to get to the turnpike on a work day from where I live in Plum off of Rep Road takes about 15 to 20 minutes. And you go past 2 schools, you gotta slow down because you got kids. I mean, there are some safety factors here that boy, if I only had to go as far as Sheets, I could put my card in there or whatever, my Easy Pass, and just be on my way, get to my destination 10 to 12 minutes quicker, one way, another 20 minutes, so we'd be saving, you know, man hours back and forth. You would be reducing the risk of, you know, accidents, obviously less traffic going down Holton Road across the bridge. I'm sure, you know, some of those, you know, maybe the Oakmont Bakery wouldn't like that, or say, Speedway down there. But I think it's something that could be revisited if you could find somebody on each of the respective councils, the boroughs that I mentioned, to maybe pick the ball up and run with it again. I'd be happy to provide whatever support that could be needed from Plum for that council person. But that's just my 2 cents, just something that's been sitting on for a number of years, Harry.
Well, part of the problem is, and it's more than $10 or $15 million to put an interchange.
Well, it was a little bit.
Because you gotta beef up the roads
Right.
around that, down there in East Oakmont. It gets very expensive. Would we love to have one there? Sure. And not just because the open, because it would give us an interchange and allow vehicle traffic to come in, as I mentioned before, to bring in more commercial traffic into the area. Right now, no matter where you are, commercial vehicles have to go to Monroeville or go down to New Kensington and pick up 366 and go wherever they're going, or over to 28. I remember years ago, I was on council and go back into the 80s, they were toying with the idea of putting an interchange in at the bottom of 909, connecting over to 28.
Okay.
Well, as far as I know, it's still on the state's planning. Nothing has happened, and I don't see it happening. They even talked about building a bridge from Logan's Ferry Heights across. It's still in the planning stages of the 5-year plan, and they just keep rolling it. It's buried. It's not going to happen. But we certainly can look at that and talk to the turnpike, but I'm afraid it's going to be cost prohibitive, to be candid with you.
Well, even if it would have to be isolated in one community, could you get rally support from the neighboring communities that would be impacted, would benefit from it as well? The Veronas and the Penn Hills and New Kens and the Oakmonts.
Well, I had started a mayor's group from the surrounding communities, because we share a contiguous border with Monroeville and Verona and Oakmont and Penn Hills, Murraysville. And it got expanded. We still meet. I can bring it up there and throw it out as something to talk about. Okay, it's just, we meet privately, and you can say anything or do anything, anything you want, bring up any subject. I can certainly bring that up, but I don't know how far it's gonna go, but I will certainly bring it up.
Thank you. I mean, it's not limited just to that one area. It's obviously that the turnpike crosses Plum in a number of places, Salzburg Road, Center New Tex, Center Road, there, Community Center, and so on. Anyway.
Will do.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna say something I can then you'll do, but
I'm glad man, we're getting you to speak.
just wanted to speak a little bit about the whole tax issue for just a moment. So when you're looking at a 38% increase in taxes, but then waiting 5 years before you raise again, something to put into mind is, you had made the comment that you understand raising taxes for the need to pay for raises in salary and things like that. I'm a financial advisor, and one of the things that we anticipate is 3 to 3.5% per year inflation going forward year over year. That's average, going back for decades. With that in mind, next 5 years then, between now and then, that's an 18.5% increase just in inflation alone. So now we're looking at about a 20% increase just in salaries between now and then. And so you have to plan all that into your taxes if you're going to be trying to delay raising taxes for 5 years. You add into that additional assumptions of inflation costs for all the goods that are going to be needed to come in and all that. If you're not planning to raise taxes, to be honest, a 38% raise now actually doesn't give a lot of wiggle room when you look at future projects as well. So actually that, I understand, because I hate it as well, but when we talk about even just salaries, like I said, that's almost a 20% planned necessity if you're going to be giving what I would argue being cost of living wages. That's not even really beating inflation for each of the individuals. And so I think that we have to kind of remember that, which is actually why I'm actually in favor not of a one and done, but an incremental year over year. That way you can plan out your inflation a little bit easier.
It wouldn't hit so hard at one time.
But I see on the other hand too, I mean, I see both sides. My gut just, you hear that, but they're trying to pre-plan out 5 years of all those rising costs. And that doesn't take into account the increasing maintenance need as your buildings begin to age. Now this is new, so there shouldn't be a lot in here, but there's a lot of stuff around that is crumbling, that they have to plan in the inflation of those costs as well. And if they're not gonna be raising taxes between now and then, that's an awful lot of pre-planning they have to put into place. And that's one of the reasons why the borough code gives them that flexibility to do that. Because I'll be honest, we would all want our pet projects to be funded, and we would all not want the projects we don't like to be funded. But most of this cost ends up coming down to simply even just salaries and making sure the pensions are taken care of and all these other different issues. So if we're okay with raising it for salary, that's already 50% of those tax raises already, just to meet that for 5 years.
But the only thing is if you're always giving cost of living, I don't get a cost of living where I work.
Well,
It's like, so where does that come into play that you have to say, well, wait a minute, yes, everyone would love a cost of living increase, but we don't get that. So.
okay, right now, nationally speaking, average wages are currently outpacing inflation. Average. Not everyone faces that, we're talking averages here. And so when we look at that, and I'll be honest, you can't pay the police enough.
No, I agree
So,
with police, but there's other salaries that beyond police and things.
Agreed, but many of these individuals are also giving up way more time than we see. We don't realize how many hours some of these individuals are pouring into this. So if they need an increase in wages in other areas, how are they gonna meet them any other way? I see what you're saying. My livelihood, my raises are all based upon my business and what I do. I'm in a unique situation though, but I was a pastor for 22 years, and for 22 years my average wage was significantly below everyone else in my congregation. And I did not always get cost of living increases. I understand, but I also had a board voting on what my salary was going to be every year. And so I've been on both sides of that situation. And I do agree, it'd be great to have representation. But at the same time, we do have representation. Now, part of the problem is perhaps not enough representation comes out on those needs when we want to. You went to the borough meetings, but enough people didn't to express those things and those concerns. And perhaps there could be more transparency on where those things are coming from and why we feel this is a necessary thing.
Well, that would help.
But I mean, ultimately, I can see both sides because I think it's important for us to try to see both sides. So that's my 2 cents.
Do we make available a preliminary budget for people to come in and look at, or pick up a copy? Do we make that available?
So we're required
I'll
by,
take it.
so we're required by the borough code to make the budget available. The budget director, I think right now is scheduled to make a presentation November 7th. And then it's available for review a month prior to council's adoption.
So there's time for you to come in and get a copy of the budget. Bob can understand where I'm coming from. Is Plum has infrastructure problem. A lot of our roads are old farm roads that they put down some gravel and paved over. There's no drainage. Barnes Road. That's a pet peeve. I use Barnes Road quite a bit. School buses come up and down. They just told me they moved the money from part of Barnes Road to someplace else. But that road is collapsing. It's an old farm road. And we have that, Harris Road. And you go down the list, there, Rep Road, there's, Rep Road was John Rep, farm was up there. And Barnes, the Barnes family farm was there. So those are expensive to rebuild. Did you have an estimate on Barnes?
Well, let's be fair about Barnes Road. So when we identified our capital projects for this year, Barnes Road was on that list. Now, part of the component to pay for Barnes Road, we had applied for a grant for $200,000 in addition to the $150,000 that we had budgeted for that. Our friends in Harrisburg, they should be awarding these grants on a more timely basis. So for example, we submitted a grant last year for a grant program. We're already submitting for the next year without them having awarded the previous year. So we knew that Barnes Road would not get done this year because the grants haven't been awarded. So we have every intention of doing Barnes Road, and I think council's gonna have to look at possibly funding that outright if you're not gonna get a grant for that, because it's not starting to slide, it's been sliding for a while. So Barnes Road though, which is an old, it was an old farm road. So $350,000 was the estimate a year ago. So you're gonna be paying $400,000 for that. You look at the roads that we pave every year. Our road program for 2024, about $1,100,000. It's you go to buy a truck, a public works truck, $150,000. You look at the cost of a new fire truck. We have 4 volunteer fire departments. The borough, has a fund to help pay for those. But you're looking at $1 million for a fire truck, and you're looking at, and just talking with Jim Sims, our volunteer, our Holiday Park chief. He said you have to buy that 3 to 4 years in advance to get it. That's how long the list is with these manufacturers. Everything's gone up. Things go up at home. Things go up here. The costs are really staggering when you look at what it costs to buy some things. But just like I said, just to be fair to Barnes Road, and I've already had a call when we made that comment at the meeting. We did the core borings. It's almost 3 or 4 years, well, maybe 5 years ago, we did core borings there. So the necessity to get that done is not forgotten.
So see, even I complain and get nothing. But on the other hand, as he pointed out, when the budgets are available, the preliminary budgets, come in and take a look at it and see where the money is going. And that's part of the issue. People really don't, they hit the number, but they don't know what makes up why we're doing that. And that in itself.
October?
November.
Oh, November, okay, November.
And just one more comment about infrastructure to follow up. Whether anyone here knows it, in the last 2 or 3 years, the library board approached council and they said, we can no longer afford to keep this library going. We cannot afford the insurance, we can't afford the upkeep. So Borough Council accepted that property from the library. So we now maintain their parking lot, their garbage situation, their HVAC systems, their roof, grass cutting. We were just painting lines at the parking lot. So that's an additional thing that we have picked up in the last year or two to keep that library, which we all want, I remember when my kids were young, they were down on Community Center Road and just a little hole in the wall, and where they are now is great. We don't want to lose that community asset. So council stepped up and said they would take care of that property, and just another thing that our public works crew, they do on a regular basis.
Are there any other questions? And as I said, this is very informal, it's all open. If not, we're gonna wrap it up. There's cookies and coffee. I had coffee, he had cookies and coffee, have something. So you can take it home too. Anything else, Bob? Thank you.
Thanks for having us here.
When you getting the pigs in?
I got some.
Are there some pigs in already? He's built the Taj Mahal for us.
It was refurbished, it's just a lot nicer than it used to be.
His farm is on
I
Elliott.
guess I should have introduced myself. Bob Morrow, at Morning Glory Farm on Elliott Road.
If there's nothing else, let's break it up. Thank you.